This week on the Nonprofit Newsfeed, of course, brought to you by Whole Whale, a B Corp digital agency. My name is George Weiner. I'm the chief whaler, and we have Nick Azulay, digital strategist at Whole Whale. And look, we love talking about nonprofit news. And we had a comment on YouTube. And I know the rest of that sentence usually goes poorly, but this time they were asking about a story we did last year about the Charitable Act. And so the Charitable Deductions Act is in the news. We did a little follow up. I'm excited to talk through it and the implications. We also have a little news about controversy around woke kindergarten in San Francisco and OpenAI, maybe working with another nonprofit, Common Sense Media. Nick, how's it going?
It's going great, George. Yeah, so exactly to your point, we want to start by talking about how the nonprofit sector potentially lost 17 billion in the soon-to-lapse Charitable Deduction Act. This is one you want to buckle up for. So, George, on this podcast, we talk a lot about fundraising. Giving season this year was meh. It was blogs. A lot of organizations were either stagnant, saw small dollar donors go down. So you and I pay attention to things that could potentially help the small dollar donor landscape. And apparently, so was the House of Representatives. H.R. 3435, better known as the Charitable Act. See also Senate Resolution 55 would have, if passed, spur increases in giving by changing tax law to increase the standard deduction for tax filers that do not itemize their taxes to approximately $4,000. What does that mean? It means that if you don't itemize your taxes, which 85% of Americans don't, you don't get the full benefits of the deduction for charitable giving that the high rollers get when they have armies of tax attorneys and that kind of thing. So what this would have done was it would have made it much easier for the common everyday person to get the tax benefits of charitable donations. However, House Resolution 3435 is about to expire. The Senate resolution also about to expire, less than 1% chance of passing. George, this is really disappointing. This seemed like almost a no-brainer piece of legislation that could have made a real impact in getting small dollar donors to contribute to charity via a fairly straightforward rule change in tax law. And the organization Independent Sector did an analysis of this and estimates that approximately $17 billion was left on the table by not passing this bill into law. George, this is something we care a lot about here at Whole Whale. Taxes can be kind of boring, but are really, really important when it comes to charitable giving. So, what do we think about this?
I think you did an awesome job summarizing it all. And I was pretty surprised. I thought this had gone through, but then clearly nothing went through. And that is a big difference, right? Between $300 and $4,000. Put another way, let's say, you gave $1,000, but you don't itemize. You're only getting $300 of that value off of your taxes. That's not the motivator, but it is also a factor in sort of the charitable status of giving to nonprofits. I don't get it. This bill, when I look at it, like literally, it had 40 co-sponsors. It was brought in May. There was two of them, two separate charitable acts brought in. Also, number 3435, and you can look at GovTrack and it just stalled. There was 20 Republicans, 20 Democrats. Yeah, I mean, I don't quite get it. It's now at a 1% chance of being enacted, which is essentially zero, according to GovTrack. I think if you're looking at it, $17 billion is the headline we put out there. It was an analysis done by the independent sector. It is a big number, right? There is a lot left on the table, and it's something that should be passed. It should be passed. It's only going to help the nonprofit sector and strengthen those long tail donors. We have seen decreases in this year over year, and I think this is part of that equation. So look, if you are a nonprofit out there like that has power in this domain, like this would raise like all tides, like this would raise all the boats. And it was sad to look this back up. So hopefully something new gets introduced. We'll be watching it. I haven't seen this written up anywhere at all. And so we are talking about it. So you now have all of our updates on what happened to the the Charitable Act. See, Nick, we always say we'll keep an eye on it. We kept an eye on
This one we kept an eye on. And while we kept the ball rolling, Congress did not,
it.
which is
Don't
really
get it.
sad. And
I
I
don't
think
get it.
if you're an advocacy organization, you need to do two things. If you really care about this and you're interacting with legislators at the national level, even the state, local level, do two things. Make the cost of ignoring this harder. Say, hey, this is a real easy solution. Why are you ignoring this? And then incentivize them. Say, hey, you're a legislator. You want to help communities that you claim to represent and claim to want to help. Why don't you pass this very simple piece of legislation that provides a level of tax equity to 85% Americans who don't itemize their taxes and can help the nonprofit sector, as opposed to maintaining the labyrinthine tax system that's already all sorts of problematic.
Labyrinthinian. It's this book. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I just, to put another view of this, look at your average donor in your system. Basically, anyone that went over $300 and is not like a large donor who's probably itemizing their taxes. As you mentioned, stats from the IRS put out there says about 85% of folks are taking that sort of non-itemized, that basic, like, hey, here are our standard deductions. According to charitable giving stats, the average donation size for homes making less than $100,000, as I'm looking up, is about $3,200. And even the low range of folks around $30,000 adjusted gross income, their average charitable donation was $2,500. I mean, you're not even getting the benefits of that on your taxes, and it's going into the local community's distribution of wealth in the way that you want for, as you mentioned, small nonprofits, ones that are working. And I don't get it, Nick. All right, enough hand wringing. We brought you the information.
Absolutely.